The key word that keeps coming up over all these years, and other people who've been surrounding us and, gone this journey with us and stuff, is perseverance. Any kind of business, I feel like you have to have perseverance to get through it and don't give up.
A lot of times, if you're out there and you want to start a venue, you don't need to sit on your hands and kind of wait for some of this stuff to happen. You can get involved in the events community, start developing that network. And then once you do have the venue, now you're so tapped into your market. That's going to help you a lot through organic and kind of word of mouth referrals to the venue. And it'll be like, wow, you're so successful. But yeah, you spent 7 years building that.
Welcome to the Venue RX. On this show, we document and share best practices around owning, operating, and managing world-class wedding venues.
Veronica Thompson, thank you so much for being here today on the Venue RX.
Thanks for having me. This is great. Thank you.
Well, this is going to be awesome. I pitched you. We were in a Weeva co-working session, and I think I just cold pitched you on coming on the podcast.
Yeah, I've never done anything like this, but there's got to get the word out.
Absolutely.
And I want to help other people. Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, I'm so excited to have this conversation with you. The venue that you're building is stunning, and you have a ton of experience in the wedding industry just as a whole. So I'm excited to dive into that. But can you give everyone a bit of an idea of what you're building the legacy at Willow Pond to be, and kind of what's the vision? Kind of how are you moving towards that?
Well, the vision's kind of evolved over the past 7 years. I'm sure we'll get into that eventually. But basically, we just wanted something a little bit more unique, and the reason we came to building this was just that with my experience as a wedding planner in the past, people kept asking for a barn type venue, but not a real barn, but something nicer that was climate controlled and everything. And basically I was like, it doesn't exist in our area. And so finally, once my son got engaged and his then fiance asked for the same exact thing, we said, okay, well, maybe it's time to build this. I mean, for years, jokingly, we said, oh, maybe we should build it. Maybe we should build it. So, but yeah, so the concept is a barn style venue, but something more elevated, that's not in this area at all, as an independent building and all. And about a year and a half ago, I kind of came across the French country inspired idea, because to me, French countries, we're on 23 acres in southern Suffolk in the rural areas. So it's, in the country, French country is welcoming, it's casual, but elevated, and the look of it. And so that's kind of the aesthetic that we're going after. And we'll have crystal chandeliers and, molding instead of wood. And basically everything's going to be white or tones of white to keep it a blank slate for anybody to make whatever they want of it. And also, I've talked to other vendors in the process of what can we do to make this even easier for you. And so, of course, photography is, white canvas is great. It reflects light well and stuff. So there's a lot of aspects and thought that we've put into this venue, both for myself from a planner perspective, from a couple's perspective of years of working with them, and then also from vendors' perspectives as well, which I'm already hearing back from the community that they are appreciating that as well. So
that's so exciting. And I like how you said elevated, but it was also comfortable. It's also reachable. It felt good, but you're also in an elevated environment. And yes. I think that's what I'm looking for when I'm looking for any sort of, whether it's, a restaurant or whether it's any sort of hospitality experience, something that feels elevated, but doesn't feel stuffy and doesn't feel, and I think that's very much, I think that's a timeless concept too. So I'm excited for you. So take us back because, we kind of hinted about your experience in the industry. Take us back, like at what point did you decide to get in the industry, even as a planner?
Well, that even goes back further because I was 20 years in the hospitality industry, working through my way through the hotel industry, just happenstance to get into a hotel and fell in love with events and just the detail planning and the organization, which feel that I'm very gifted. That's one of my giftings. And so I just kind of worked my way through the industry. The last couple positions, director of catering, director of sales, director of convention services. So I kind of did the gamut over the 20 years. But it wasn't until I had a new general manager come in, and he'd only been there 2 weeks, and we went out on outside sales calls, and we were not even out of the parking lot. And he was like, "So what is it you really want to do with your life? Because you hate your job." And I was like, "No, I love my job." But he's like, "No, you like what you do, but basically you're almost kind of an order taker at this point. I see you as wanting to be creative and expand and, be a change maker and stuff." And so I'm like, okay. And so my husband and I thought about it and prayed about it. And then, because I had told him, I said, "Well, I'd really love to be an event planner and have my own event planning company." And he's like, "So what are you doing every day to make it happen? Whether it's something small, something big, if that's what you want, you need to go for it." And which was very unusual for me to have like a general manager tell me to go do something else
totally.
than where I was. And so he really sees people and their gifts and, really wants to help them wherever they want to go, whether it's in the hospitality industry or not. So we made kind of an exit plan, a business plan. And within 8 months, I left the hotel industry and started my own business. And for 10 and a half years now, I've been planning weddings and corporate events and just have loved every minute of it. There's just something about the planning and organization and seeing it all come together for people, and they are just thrilled with it. And for me, people are like, "This is such a stressful job." Like, event planning is one of the top 3 most stressful jobs, in the world and stuff. But it doesn't come that way to me. It's more natural, I guess. But to be able to take that stress off of couples or companies and stuff that, a lot of people have just never planned events and they don't know all the ins and outs and stuff. And so, I love what I do. I got my, CMP, which is Certified Meeting Professional designation years ago. It's probably been 8 years now too. So the corporate world I enjoy doing, which we will incorporate into the venue as well for weekdays and stuff.
Well, I'm curious, the event planning that you do, is it all in your local area? Do you focus on, or do you travel as well?
I've traveled around the state, and we're so close to North Carolina. I've done events in North Carolina before as well. So basically pretty much in the States. I had one destination wedding that was supposed to be in the Caribbean, but that got canceled. But so basically locally is pretty much within the state or so. Mm-hmm.
Awesome. It's so funny. You said so many people think of it as a stressful job. And I totally think I can totally see that, like someone who's gifted organizationally and can kind of see through what is perceived to be some of the chaos, right? And who does a really good job. There's such a difference in an event planned by someone like that versus someone's executive assistant or something like that and just kind of throwing the event together. It feels so different, right? Because it's intentional.
Yes.
And it sounds like that's what you're really trying to do with this wedding venue, is make this very intentional space, right?
Yes, it is. And the fact that it is our venue, then I can create our own events as well and things I've wanted to do and put out for community purposes, as well as, just to do because it's something different. And I'm always looking for something different. And to me, events are all about experiences and stuff too. So whether it be a wedding or a corporate event or whatever it is, a birthday party, it's all about the experience and the purpose of gathering together and stuff too. So a lot of what I do it is thought through very intentionally. Yes.
That's well, and I can't wait to hear more about that. Let's transition and talk about the process. Like, where are you at so far in the build? Where did it start and where are you at now?
Well, it started a little over 7 years ago. And as I said, when my son and his fiance, now wife, had gotten engaged. But just through different reasons of trying to sell our house, because that's where we had money invested in, and find the right land, because we wanted to be no more than 20 to 30 minutes away from a full service hotel. And we wanted a certain number of acres and, partially wooded, partially farmland. So we had options to be able to make the property what we have envisioned. And so during all that process, in June of 2020, we were supposed to close on our venue loan and break ground in June. And then in April, they put everything on hold. The bank did. And then in September, they got caught all up in the PPP loans and everything. And in September of 2020, they rescinded the loan, basically.
No.
Yes. With all the investments and time and everything we'd already put in. And so, we were just devastated because with COVID, we just didn't know how things were going to work out and manage all this, if we were even going to get another lender, because it took a while to get the right lender and all too. So, but then in May of 22, we got another lender, and we closed on our loan in August 31st of 2023 and broke ground 2 weeks later. We hit the ground running. And so a lot of site work has been done. It was 14 acres of farmland and 9 acres of woods, which is what we want and wanted. And so there's been a lot of site work. Then the beginning of January, they started putting in the poles and the framing. All the framing is done. The roof got put on last week. And so now they're starting to close everything in and hopefully lay concrete this week. And so we anticipate opening most likely in July. But I'm not taking bookings until August, just to be sure. My husband is working with a lot of the contractors, and so he already added some cushioning to their timelines to come up with July. But then I pushed it out even a little bit further. And as we go through the build process, then I'll start backing things and opening things up.
That's incredible. Veronica, this is the fulfillment of a dream, it sounds like, from so many years ago, but even more recently with COVID and everything. It is tough to get a loan. I know. And you had to go through the process twice, essentially, it sounds like.
Yes.
So I'm curious, you kind of went through it quickly, but what happened between, June of 2020 when you realized you're not going to get the loan and you said you were devastated. I'm sure so disappointed, all the effort and energy and everything that you put in. What happens between that time and when you found the new lender? Like, what are you doing? What does the day-to-day look like in trying to pursue this dream? Well,
probably for almost a year. Because, we were in the midst of COVID, everything was shut down and stuff. I hadn't really had anything on the books because we were for event planning, because we had moved into the venue process. And I didn't want to continue to take bookings so I could focus on the venue side of it. And so probably for almost a year, we literally did nothing. We just, after several weeks of tears off and on and not knowing, what's going, we did a lot of soul searching, a lot of praying, about a lot of just being still, because we just didn't know what to do. And, but we do feel like God protected us during that time, because had we been in the midst of building at that time, the cost of everything substantially went up. The supply chain issues were horrible. And so we feel like, this would have cost us way more than even now with inflation, because we wouldn't have been able to control anything, because everything was out of control. with just the supply chain and the cost of lumber and everything else going up. And so, I mean, the delays could have extended everything out for who knows how long. So we do feel like we were protected in that time frame, but it was just still a very hard place to be in and not know what they planned.
Yeah, well, thank you for sharing that, because I feel like for anyone who's listening, you're going to encounter tough seasons. And whether that's a tough season in your venue with maybe, bookings not coming as much as you'd like, or a delay in construction like you're sharing, or even your loan getting canceled, and the whole thing pivoting, it's really good encouragement, because it's a season thing. And sometimes just the season is, it is important to, like you said, be still, just think about it, pray about it, and then, really ask, like, hey, am I supposed to move forward on this or not? And it sounds like the answer was a resounding yes, and you stuck with it. And so, I mean, I can only imagine how excited you must feel to kind of see that frame go up, and, that's incredible.
Hey friends, Jonathan here. Just want to take a moment and share about Common Sense Events consulting packages. We are really excited to be consulting with a few more companies this year, and we've done it in the past successfully, and it's been such a blast. So this year, we want to take on a couple more consulting clients. Unfortunately, because of the venues that we currently manage and the intention and the focus that we have on that, we're only able to take on a limited amount, but we do have a couple slots for venues. So if you are interested, we have both 90 and 120-day programs available, or we can come in and partner with you on marketing, sales, operations, and help fine-tune any of the systems that are in those categories. So if you are interested in that, we would absolutely love to hear from you and see if there's a way that we could partner with you and serve you at your venue. Go ahead, fill out the link that is in the description in this video or podcast. You can also just send us an email at venues@cseventservices.com, and we'd love to chat with you. All right, back to the show.
Yeah, actually, there was the day the trusses were supposed to be delivered, or the lumber and stuff to start the poles and everything. I had gone out there to check on things and all, and the truck was coming from the North Carolina area, and I was going south. And we met almost at the drive, the temporary drive, the big truck that had all the supplies. And I literally almost started crying, because I was just like, this is the first physical things that we had moved, other than moving dirt for 2.5 months, and which was huge anyway, because we put in a 1-acre pond and all that and all too. But yeah, it was pretty overwhelming a little bit, the drive down there, just thinking about the process now of actually building, and but very exciting.
Well, you've been through so much already. I have 100% confidence that, the work will continue, and that, you're going to get something that probably even exceeds and surpasses what you had hoped. So I'm excited about that. I wanted to go, before we kind of talk forward and what the future holds for the venue, I wanted to ask about the loan process, because that's something it sounds like you went through twice, correct?
Well, the actual whole process twice, but honestly, we had probably talked to 4 or 5 lenders even prior to that, to being approved for the first loan. And that was in of itself, disappointing at times, because we think that, okay, this lender, this bank is very interested. I mean, and people would tell us, we've never seen business plans like this before. Usually we get a business plan that's like written on a piece of paper or a piece of a napkin or something. And I mean, ours was probably 25 pages long. So, again, put a lot of thought into it and try to anticipate whatever questions, the bank might ask, to be able to put in, so that they knew we were thinking through these things. And,
Could you give us a breakdown of that? Like, what are some of the things that you included on that initial 25 pages? And then maybe were there things that certain banks came back, and after you had some of those conversations, that they wanted more information on that maybe you didn't anticipate?
There were just that's just so hard, because it was written 7 years ago now too. Things like, of course, we had been following tons of different venues across the country, the building process, and looking what they were doing, and anticipating, like, how many weddings they had on the books and stuff prior to opening. And I mean, so that we could gauge some of that, because the bank wanted to know, well, what are your, projections and all too. So, so that was definitely one thing that we both spent time, watching other new venues being built and their progress and stuff too. And even talking with some of them. I mean, with my own planning side, there were a lot of things I put into, our systems and processes and stuff of what we would anticipate doing. My husband worked on all the financial projections and all for that. And with some of my help of, these are the things, this is the amount certain things cost and stuff, where we could anticipate and all too. I don't recall that really there was anything that any of the banks came back with and said, can you explain this more? So, which was good. I mean, but like I said, when you work so hard to put something like that together and they're like, oh, we've never seen a business plan like this. And they're like, yeah, no, this isn't going to match what we want for a loan. That was very disappointing at times. I mean, we even had one bank have us do I'm drawing the blank on the name, the analysis of the cost of the property, the value of the property and all before we even really got deep into the process. And then they decided, no, they didn't even want to.
So they had you start kind of on like an appraisal or something, and then
appraisal. Yeah, I'm sorry, I was just drawing a blank on the word. Yes, appraisal. They wanted a full appraisal done of that, plus what they anticipated the building, value of everything to be before we even really got deep into the conversations. And then, that was $2,500 or so or more. And so, yeah.
So I wanted just to highlight that, because for anyone listening, if you're on your third or fourth bank, don't lose heart, right? Yeah. Expect there is going to be those hurdles. There's going to be the people that say no, even if you do have a 25-page, beautifully written and explained thing like that will happen. And so go searching for that sixth or eighth one, and don't be discouraged if number 2 or number 3, gives you a thumbs down. Keep at it,
Right. The key word that keeps coming up over all these years, and other people who've been surrounding us and, gone this journey with us and stuff, is perseverance. I mean, for any kind of business, I feel like you have to have perseverance to get through it, and don't give up. If that's what your dream is, I mean, this is what you want. There is a way, and there will be a way made if that's, what you really want and we feel like this has been something that we've kind of, not to get too deep, but called to do, just because, we're very strong in our faith and stuff. And we've had people alongside of us praying for us, and not once has anybody ever said, this is a bad idea, or that we don't, or yeah, it's time to give up, or no. Everybody has continued to surround us and be positive about it and praying for us and all. But feels like this is our calling, to serve the community of Suffolk, Virginia, and to serve, the surrounding community, and with our giftings of what we do. And
I love that. I love that. Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing that. It makes a big difference when you're, kind of transitioning a little bit. So now you have, the loan, and you have some of the steps, right? And everything's kind of been moving along. How did you start thinking, as soon as you had some of those initial steps in place, when did you know it was time to start thinking about setting pricing or selling weddings? You said you're not selling weddings until August, but when did you want to start doing tours? Give me some of that thought process.
Yes. So actually we had initial pricing built into that business plan as well, so that we had projections and stuff for the bank of what we were projecting that we would be making, and, what our price point would be. Of course, that changed. We had to update it constantly because things changed. So, but, and we've kind of initially set our pricing back, I don't know, 6-8 months ago or so, based on the inflation and the pricing of everything and the things that, because the bank has required us to also have certain things in place. Workers' comp, I had to get a life insurance policy on myself because I'm the one, a significant life insurance policy, because I'm the one who basically knows how to, the wedding industry and how to run the venue. And well, I know the basics of running a venue.
You're the key person in the whole entire thing.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, so we had to start adding some of those costs as our hard costs too, of putting some of those things into the pricing of it. And so we kind of set those, and I started advertising shortly after we broke ground. So back in September of last year, I had a splash page that had been set up while our website was being worked on and all, but I had come up with kind of a welcome or informational guide that had pricing and inclusions of everything that would be included, because that was the other thing that was kind of in that business plan, and of all the things that we wanted to include, because we want to try to be as full service as possible without being inclusive. I mean, an inclusive venue, but as full service as possible. So like all the chairs and tables and things like that are being included, as well as as part of a sustainability practice, I'm having a borrowed boutique. So one-time purchases where people can borrow items that I already have. We did have a small event rental company at one point too. So we have quite a bit of decor and all that we've accumulated over the years. So that's just a sustainability practice more so than, but if it saves people money, it saves people money too. So, but so there's different unique things that we've built in to try to be full service, as well as our exclusive caterer that is also a full service caterer. I
was going to ask just about the advertising. Did you start spending money on ads, either Google, Facebook, online directories like Wedding Wire, The Knot, anything like that? Or was this just a presence on the website?
Right now, it's just been a presence on the website and social media, and which is not my forte. I'm not a techie person, and I'd rather just be creative and sell and design events and stuff than social media. It drains me, honestly. But I'm trying. But I've been actually on national training webinars, and people are like, "Oh, put your name and who you're with and what you do and all this." And so I put it all out there about the legacy at Willow Pond, and people are like, "Oh, I'm following you," and come to find out they're in the Outer Banks of North Carolina and up in Maryland and stuff. So I'm like, okay, my social media is working somehow. I don't know what I'm doing exactly, but it's working. So, eventually we want to outsource that, but until we have revenue coming in, then we have some contingency money in the loan and stuff like that, but I'd rather not use that if I can get other things working. But the other benefit that I've had is being so ingrained in the event industry for so many years. I also have a network of people who are also sharing things and posting and stuff like that on our behalf as well. So that's helpful too.
I love that you mentioned that, because I think there's so much time. You even just described to us a 7-year process, right? Of all of this. And a lot of times, if you're out there and you want to start a venue, you don't need to sit on your hands and kind of wait for some of this stuff to happen. You can get involved in the events community, start developing that network. And then once you do have the venue, now you're so, like you're mentioning, Veronica, you're so tapped into your market. That's going to help you a lot through organic and kind of word of mouth referrals to the venue. And it'll be like, wow, you're so successful. But yeah, you spent 7 years plus building that.
Right.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And the other thing I did do, which I think is helping too, is with our target market of clients that we're trying to, to reach, I invited 10 wedding planners. Well, actually, there were about 15 that I actually invited to a small kind of behind the scenes. This is what the buildings, here's our mood boards. These are our architectural plans. This is our vision and stuff for just a meet and greet, because a lot of the planners I didn't know. A lot has changed in 3.5 years or so, with COVID and everything too. A lot of people come into the industry that I wasn't connected with before. And they are really huge proponents for us right now too. And the clientele that they work with is the clientele that we want to reach. And so I think aligning ourselves with certain people in the same space that we want, of clients that we want to reach, is a good way to network with other and event professionals and stuff too, whether it just be planners or caterers, or and again, our caterer too. They are one of the best in the area, and they are very well networked themselves, and they're part of Leading Caterers of America, which there's only 77 caterers of them that you have to be invited to join and stuff. So we've tried to align ourselves with other individuals too that are reaching the same demographics that we're trying to reach for the wedding venue.
I'm curious, and I was going to ask you about that. What made you decide to go with having an in-house caterer like that versus having blank canvas, just kind of you can bring in your own catering?
Again, that was very intentional. We did put out an RFP to caterers that we want, the type of service that we want to offer our clients as just venue owners and our property and everything. We wanted that same level of service to be offered by the caterer as well, to know that their full experience is seamless. It's the same level of service that we're trying to offer them. And the demographic of clients that we're, trying to reach, they align with that. And so we had probably, like I said, put out an RFP for 5 or 6 different caterers that kind of align with that as well. But then the caterer that we chose, Chef by Design, they are full service as well. They have sustainability practices in place for their own business, which was important to us as well. They're very well known in the community, and what they wanted to partner with us on this and offer some other things too. We just felt like this was a good match. We never intended to have an exclusive caterer. We were looking to have maybe 2 or 3 options so people had choices. They felt like they had choices. But in talking with them, they can do the gamut from barbecue to 5-course wine pairing dinners or something, they can do the gamut of everything, and, in different price ranges too, because that was important to us if we were going to use an exclusive caterer.
To have a variety of prices, not just kind of hitting one price point. And
not just prices, but types of food too, because they are pretty well known for doing kind of the higher end meals and stuff like that. But they're like, no, we got a barbecue pit. We can come and do barbecue right there on property. And so, and do a barbecue chicken and pulled barbecue dinner if that's what people want. So, that was important, that we knew not only just price point, but food, options, because not everybody wants, a really higher end meal and stuff too. They want that casual, something that's maybe the food isn't their key thing of where they want to spend their money. Maybe it's the florals instead. And that was always been one thing that I asked as a planner to all my clients, are what are the top 3 things that are most important to you? Whether it be, if you're a foodie, they want amazing food. But maybe it's the florals that the bride's always dreamed of, having a flower forward wedding with flowers everywhere hanging from the ceiling and stuff. And so they want to put more of their money there. So there's a lot of different thought into why we did, chose them. Like I said, not just price, but also the type of food that people want to.
You touched on something I just want to highlight, choices. People like having choices, but a lot of times there's too many choices. And sometimes if you give people the entire range of options, and you don't, it's like, oh, you can bring in someone else, you can do this, we have a preferred person or whatever, then it gets a little bit overwhelming versus saying, it sounds like you've got a caterer that allows them to have choices, but it's within a range. And from an operational perspective, you know what you can expect by working with this company. And so you're able to provide a range of choices that is reachable for a variety of clients, but also doesn't overwhelm anyone and kind of confines the choices to a tight enough range where it's not out of control and you're going to be, having to deal with a bunch of different relationships.
Yes.
So very neat, very neat. I love that. I wanted to ask some questions about the package. Like, what do people get when they book with you? And I know, do you have bookings currently?
I have one. We actually did a site visit. It's not paid for yet. She just emailed me and said, yes, we want to book with you guys. Amazing. So I did my first, actually, I've done a couple consultations, going back to kind of another question you asked. So we've done a couple consultations, like at the closest hotel that we have. I've been able to meet there because it's so cold or rainy lately. But I was able to do my first on-site consultation this past Saturday. And so they're booking for May of next year.
Wow. So, congratulations. Yeah. That's huge.
Yeah.
That's so exciting. Okay. Yeah. So so I guess the two things I'm wondering, what do people get? Like, what does a package look like when they get married at your venue? And then the second thing I want to know, what is the target amount of weddings that you'd like to book per year?
Mm-hmm. So what they get, so as I said, we wanted a significant amount of property because one, I want it to go back to experience. There's nothing in this area that has a large amount of property, or well, I take that back. There are two newer venues now that have some property in all too, but we are working also with a landscape architect to develop most of all of the farmland, so the 14 acres. And then eventually we do want to put a ceremony area in the woods because people are looking for woodland type weddings, but there's nothing, again, in our area that has anything like that. And so with that, we did build a 1 acre pond, which is also our B&P. So we had to have stormwater runoff somewhere. So I'm like, well, if we have to have a small pond, let's just make something so it's beneficial and beautiful. And but we also have a small it's a semi-island in the middle of the pond for ceremonies, or if people want to have dinners or whatever out there, cocktail hour, if they want to have ceremony somewhere else, then that's fine. But then we'll have wildflower fields and grass fields, and closer to the venue, it'll be more manicured landscaping and stuff too. So people will have a lot of different options of where they can have their ceremony, as well as cocktail hour, reception. If they want to have the whole reception outside, they can do that too. There's plenty of space to do it. And part of this, again, goes back to COVID too, but we had already purchased the property before COVID, but now I'm like, I have 14 acres to do anything outside if this were to happen again. So that certainly multiple areas of options for, inside, outside ceremonies, receptions, and locations of those things. So actually in the building, we'll have some farm tables already that we own. They'll be available. We are purchasing chairs, about 175 to 180 chairs. Our capacity with the dance floor area will be about 180 at the max. And so we'll purchase chairs for those, and they'll be a little bit more elevated. They're not just folding chairs. For the venue, we're actually going to Cater Source and TSE the 12th through the 16th, or 14th through the 16th. And so we're sourcing a lot of that stuff probably there at the trade show too. So we have farm table, sweetheart table. We'll have round tables, rectangle tables, all for them. We have, as I said before, we have we've had an event rental company before, so we have different arbors and stuff that people will be able to use at no charge. I'm just drawing a blank on. So I mean,
chairs and the tables, things like cocktail tables, all of that sounds like all the furniture is included. Are you planners? Does it include, like, are you planning all the weddings, or are people going to be able to bring in their own planners?
I'm going to take on probably some wedding management. So like 8 weeks out, possibly at some point, because I don't want to get out of planning altogether. Eventually I do want to have a team of planners directly for the venue, but right now they are required to have either license and all the vendors will have to be licensed and insured. So I've worked with too many events where they're not, and that just didn't go well. And so being a professional myself, I feel that that's important. But they will be required to either have a full service wedding planner or at least a coordinator that will start at least 8 weeks out prior to the wedding date. Mm-hmm. Other than that, they can have any vendors that they want as long as they can show license and insurance policies.
For that topic, license and insurance and things like risk and stuff like that, are you requiring couples to have their own insurance for the day of? Okay.
Yeah, we'll require that too. Mm-hmm.
Okay, very cool.
Yeah.
Very
and
cool.
then that, like the ABC license, the caterer has an ABC license, so that's one thing they won't have to worry about either.
Will all the alcohol be purchased through them, or are you allowing BYOB?
No, all food and beverage will have to come through the caterer.
Got it.
So again, we want to make it as seamless as possible for couples too. I mean, and a lot of people are like, oh no, we just want to bring our own alcohol. And I'm like, okay, well, you bring alcohol, but then do you realize that you also need to bring mixers, and you need to bring fruits and garnishes and ice but we will have an ice maker, so that will be included as well. But I mean, there's just so in glassware and I mean, they just don't most things never planned before, so they don't know what they don't know. Yeah. And so, I mean, I feel like as a planner and even as a venue owner, to help them, that there's a lot of education that goes on though too, getting people to understand the process and why we've chosen to go this route, because basically you choose your food, you choose your, do you just want to do signature drinks and beer or something, or do you just want to do signature drinks and be done with it? I mean, there's just so many different options, but I don't think people realize how much easier that makes it for them than having to, and I mean, even my son's wedding, they ran out of certain alcohol and somebody had to go out and get bottles of alcohol because they wanted more drinks. And so I'm just like, yeah, that's just not a way to have a reception.
Totally. And it depends on the target market that you have and like who is the avatar, who you're going to have getting married there and have their event there. But a lot of times when the experience is at a premium and that's what you're selling, you don't want, like, it's worth, the additional, because there's not a huge difference between doing it yourself once you add in all of the details, plus the time that it takes to assemble.
Yes.
There's not a huge difference between that and having some of those things pre-selected. And so, yeah, I love that. Well, this is so cool. Like, I love, and I'm really excited, honestly, that we've been able to talk now. And of course, excited for you, being a part of Viva. Yes. I'm excited because, we're kind of talking at the initial stage of your journey, and I look forward to kind of tracking with you and, keeping an eye on your Instagram and maybe even having you back on the show in a year or 2 years, just as your business has developed and grown. And I just see such success, and I'm excited for you. So this is really, really cool.
Thank you so much, Jonathan. I mean, we're thrilled too. And, we want to serve the community and do things well. And we are excited to get this going and anticipating a great response.
Awesome. Veronica, thanks so much for coming on the Venue RX. If people are interested in reaching out and kind of maybe asking you some questions, maybe they're early on in the process or whatever, what is the best way to reach out to you?
My email is events with the @ sign. So events at legacy at Willow Pond. So legacy at Willow Pond would be spelled out. So events at legacy@willowpond.com.
Beautiful. Okay. Amazing. Sounds good. Well, we're going to put the links to everything that you have available, Instagram, website, all that good stuff in the description. And yeah, people can check out the progress and what y'all are doing out there. And this is going to be cool. I'm excited to see how you guys grow.
Thanks. Great. Well, it's been great to be on the show, and thanks for letting us share about our journey too.
My pleasure. Talk soon.
Okay.
Pardon the interruption, I wanted to take a moment and share with you about WEVA. WEVA stands for Wedding and Event Venue Association, and it is a professional association custom built for venue owners and operators. We felt like there was a lack of resources, community, education, and networking available specifically for our industry, and so we recently started this association, and it's been growing by the day. We would love to extend an invite to you, so please click the link in the description or wherever you're watching this video, and we would love to welcome you into the community.